I was thinking about my mom. I remember this exactly because my baby was born when she was the age that I am now. And my mom was in the same shape. She was in so much pain. She complained so much. The other girls trained her, don't even call. If you're going to complain, don't even call. They trained her, we don't want to hear it. And they cut her off for years on and off. Not because of complaining, but because of lots of different issues. They cut her off, went no contact. The sisters, two sisters are notorious for repeatedly hurting people by going no contact. But anyways, my mom just complained and complained. She was in pain. She would cry. And she would call my house 2, 3, 4 times a day, like every day, 365 days a year. And she really struggled to walk. Her feet were killing her. She would say to me, she would smile and she would say to me, that feeling when you're just being pulled to the ground, where your body is so heavy and you're being pulled to the ground? And I'd say, no, Mom, that's not a normal thing for someone to say. I've never heard of that in my life. And she said, like as if this is a normal thing. It's not normal for people to talk like that. And I really wonder if she had Chiari malformation. I wish I could get, I'm no longer, I can't get around to medical facilities, this, that. I can't drive around anymore. No, I've lost my vehicle. But I wish I could get access to her medical records. Because I really think that she had Chiari malformation. And she was being told forever that this was all arthritis. I don't think it was ever arthritis. My friend's mom has, what do you call that really bad arthritis? Or rheumatoid arthritis, and her knuckles were just swollen like marbles and just crippled up. And she would say to me, so her mother had rheumatoid arthritis, and my mother apparently just has regular arthritis. And my friend would say to me, there's something really wrong with your mom. Like the way she complains, like she's in agony, she's in pain all the time. There's something wrong that she's not getting the help that she needs. And both women were getting pain relief, and my mom just had serious low quality of life, and just was in pain nonstop. Like, Mom's pain was never under control. And I really now, right before my mom died, she was diagnosed with neuropathy. I think she had neuropathy all those years since she was my age. And I really wonder, I really wonder if she had Chiari. And she suffered from headaches and not the sleep issues. She slept like a log. She snored like a train. She didn't have apnea. She could sleep hours and hours on end. But she was in a lot of pain. And English was not my mom's first language. So, you see all these women, thousands of women in all these health groups on Facebook and on social media. We're not idiots. We're not rocket scientists, but we're not idiots. And you see everybody being gaslighted and not being able to get the care that they need. Well, imagine what it's like when English isn't your first language and you just kind of have to, and Mom wasn't educated, right? So I'm sure it was super, super easy for my mom to be gaslighted and for doctors to talk circles around her. She had lost faith in the medical system. She had one cardiologist treating her for heart disease for a few years that she did not have. This guy, they eventually put a stop to him. He had all these patients that he was signed up for. He created all these patients for himself by telling them they had heart disease when they didn't, and setting up regular appointments, right? So they put a stop to him. His wife was, I think, embezzling or fudging people's records. She was reprimanded somehow as well. So, it's pretty easy I'm sure it would be pretty easy to talk an elderly person into all sorts of things when their first language is in English and they're very uneducated. And I really wonder if my mom had Chiari. My aunt, I remember, she, let's see, how old would she have been? Maybe she was 30 when a surgeon cut holes in her sinuses. It took me until now to have that memory. And, I wonder if she just suffered like a dog from that. She is different though. She was really miserable. She's not like me and my mom. She's miserable and sneaky, but even besides that, I wonder how much medical negligence that she went through, and there was nobody to protect her. And I wonder if she too had Chiari, and because I know they were misdiagnosing her mental health issues. My aunt, I think they were diagnosing and drugging her for everything. What I think my aunt had, what I know she had, and this is a very, very, they commonly misdiagnose this. I think a lot of these psychiatrists aren't skilled at diagnosing. Dissociative identity disorder is highly misdiagnosed and undiagnosed. Dissociative identity disorder from severe trauma at a young age. How many minutes do I have? So you have someone like that on a crap ton of drugs, and see what it's like for them to try to get actual medical care for their medical issues, and then they're easily taken advantage of. If someone wants to do a bizarre surgery or do an experiment, try a new surgery that they've never done before, they're going to do it on a vulnerable person. I mean, your prime candidate for that would be a vulnerable person who's on a bunch of psych drugs, and if something goes wrong, they can't defend themselves. There are doctors who would fully agree with that statement of mine. That's who they will experiment on, and if things go south, there's no one to fight for these people. And I know that they did that with her sinuses, and she suffered like a dog. And no one would have known about empty sinus syndrome back then. She would have been suffering in misery, and everyone just shrugs it off because this was not a known thing. But I wonder too if she just died. And in the last few years, I didn't know her, but in the last 7 years, I've really gained compassion for her. And I think she was thrown under the bus and used as a scapegoat. And she had nobody medically protecting her. And God only knows what the medical system and psychiatry did to her. And I in the past 7 years, I wanted to get to her nursing home, and have a candid, loving, supportive conversation with her, because I think psychiatry just tormented her with drugs. and, like antipsychotics and everything, right? Sedatives, and I think people get really, really miserable when they're being mistreated by medical, but no one hears them. There's no one to fight for them. There's no one to pull them out of that. And when that's going on for years and years, and you're elderly already, imagine how miserable a person can get. She was really, souls have been broken by psychiatry and with these psych drugs. But I really wonder too, I mean, honestly, if she had Chiari malformation, what kind of thing do you think they'd give her surgery? No, I think they'd give her psych drugs. Family support is everything. And, Ghislaine Maxwell, right? Jeffrey Epstein's sidekick there. She was trolling the streets of low-income neighborhoods and fast food restaurants and stuff, looking for teenage girls who came from single-parent homes and who didn't have anybody protecting them. But she looked for vulnerable girls. And where was I going with this? I'm thinking about how slippery the ice is. Where was I going with that? I lost my train of thought. I had 3 hours of sleep, 3 hours of broken sleep last night. There's something I was going to tell you about vulnerable people. Oh, no. Okay, so she's convicted in accessory to sex trafficking these teenage girls, right? And her family, and she's guilty. Everyone knows she's guilty. Her family is in the court supporting her. Her family. She was sex trafficking children to wealthy men, and her family is sitting in court backing her up. I mean, and there are all sorts of sick patients with cancer, with brain issues, spine issues, all sorts of serious and acute medication withdrawal, and they're being physically ripped apart from these withdrawals. So all sorts of desperate people, and their families have refused to show up. My family has refused to support me. And yet you've got Ghislaine Maxwell, guilty as sin. These people, their families, care enough to show up and show support, show solidarity for your sister who is convicted of child sex trafficking. Isn't that incredible? And yet there's families, there are people dying, and our families will not show up. There are people begging for medical care. Our families won't fight for us. Like, it's so confusing, Anyways, I'm almost home here.